Let's hear from Kyle Brandt of Good Morning Football of NFL Network and where he thinks the Browns fit in the AFC North.
I have to give a tiny, slight tip of the hat to Cleveland. I have the sensation that Cleveland is on the way up. I think they are the next big thing, based in part to their roster, based in part to Stefanski. I wonder if Baltimore can make that jump. We've seen some great football from the Ravens, from Lamar. I just feel like that Cleveland is on the way up a little bit more than they are, and I love what they have going. Nate, you talked about can they do the run with the pass? Can Baltimore? Cleveland can already. Yeah. I mean, Cleveland's ready, baby, and their defense is stacked now. And look, I think the Steelers, does Ben still have it? Cincinnati, who knows? Baltimore, can they have that next level passing game? Because we've seen how far the run game can take them. Right to the middle of the playoffs and see you later. And look, I like Rashad Bateman making some impressive catches in front of Mike Garafolo in camp as much as the next guy. Is he doing it against the Chiefs in the playoffs? Like, we got to see. I've heard about this passing game for a long time. We got to have it.
And, I think Kyle Brandt makes a good point. We've seen the run game from the Baltimore Ravens. They've added in Sammy Watkins. They've added in Rashad Bateman. We got to see them take that next step. In order to talk about that, let's bring in Dennis Manoloff of News Radio WTAM 1100. D-Man, what are your thoughts on what Kyle had said with the Browns being ahead of the Ravens?
I'm doing the same thing to you, young Mac, that I do to the great Dave Bacon when these clips get played. Pump the brakes, please. Oh, my goodness. It makes me nervous to hear all of this praise heaped on the Browns. I'm as bullish on the Browns as anybody, but I'm also, shall we say, realistic, which sometimes puts me at odds with some of these the pundits. I like Kyle Brandt. Okay, great. But here's my question to Kyle Brandt and anybody else who says that the Browns are going to be better than the Ravens. And trust me, I have to hold my nose when I say this because I hate the Ravens, all right? But what have the Browns accomplished that the Ravens have not accomplished in the past couple of years? I mean, you just heard Mr. Brandt say that the Ravens need a next level passing game, and what we've seen from them is they get to the middle of the playoffs and then they're out. Well, what have the Browns done? They won one playoff game last year for the first time in a bazillion years. So my thing is, I got to see it first. I want the Browns to succeed. I want them to supplant the Ravens in the AFC North. But I'm not going to crown them until they actually wear a crown, until they actually have won the division. I'm going to give the Ravens the respect as a defending division champ.
I guess my counterpoint to that would be, with the Ravens this offseason, they've lost a lot of their defensive pieces too. So I feel like the Ravens have almost subtracted a bit. Obviously, they added in Justin Houston last week, but at the same time, I feel like they've lost a lot of pieces to what they had already compared to the Browns where they've added. And yes, I agree with what you're saying where you haven't necessarily seen it yet. But at the same time, I feel like the subtractions from the Ravens and the additions for the Browns have kind of almost leveled it out at least.
I hear you, Mac. And again, you're preaching to the choir to a large extent because I want the Browns to be the best team in the history of the world. I want them to win the Super Bowl this year and for the next 20 years. So I'm just trying to say, and yeah, the Ravens have lost pieces, but I'm glad you mentioned Houston. I mean, he comes in rather quietly. Clowney got all the fanfare. Houston got basically no fanfare based on when he did sign. Well, you know what? Justin Houston, in my mind, is still a decent player, and we don't know about Clowney. I can't wait to see him healthy, but that's a big if, though. And yes, the Browns on paper added a lot, particularly on the defensive side. But we don't know how they're all going to mesh. We don't know how they're all going to react to, Joe Woods' system. And we don't know how some of the guys who have had injury pasts are going to respond, i.e., Jadeveon Clowney. And another one, shorter career than Clowney, Greedy Williams, a very important piece, you would think, going forward. He's got injuries already in his brief career. So we shall see how good the defense actually plays. But I agree that the Browns look good on paper.